Hello and welcome to GAB with ALisa, Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10. This show, we're going to take an opportunity to meet a very inspirational, community-involved woman who has done amazing things with her life and amazing things for our community. We're going to be talking to Emily Harman. We're going to profile her and what her life is all about and what she brings to our community. That's coming up next, so grab a glass of iced tea, sit back and get ready to enjoy a wonderful program. GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10, coming up in just a moment.
Being your best is all about how you feel inside and out. If you feel good, you look good. Hi, I'm Dawn Campbell. Join me on MetroCast Channel 10 for Be Your Best. I'll show you creative ways to dress for success, give you quick health and fitness tips, and daily ideas for living the life you were meant to live. Be Your Best airs weekdays exclusively on MetroCast Channel 10 and is brought to you by Fitz Auto Mall.
You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10. Thanks so much for joining us. My guest today is Emily Harman. Emily, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have to say, I met you because you come into MetroCast Channel 10 a couple of times to talk about NAVAIR, because you work with the Office of Small Business Programs for NAVAIR, and you've come in and talked about some of the things that happen in the community, but we've gotten to be friendly as well because we're Facebook friends.
Correct.
And so I've kind of been following your life and your adventures, if you will, and seeing the number of things that you are involved in with the community, and I thought you would just make such a wonderfully interesting guest to have on GAB with ALisa. So I'm excited today because we're going to talk about your life. We're going to start way back in the beginning and talk about all of the things that you do now. So Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's talk a little bit, first of all, about your career in the military. You were a naval officer.
Correct.
Okay.
I went to the United States Naval Academy, graduated in 1985. We were the 6th class of women to graduate from the academy. And then from there, I served on I went to Supply Corps school, and I served on a submarine tender. And then I got stationed back at the Naval Academy for a little bit. So I served 7 years on active duty and then did 13 years in the reserves.
Goodness. If you were in the 6th class of women to graduate, that means not only were you on the forefront of women moving through the military, and especially as an officer, but that means also your parents must have been pretty forward-thinking as well.
They were. And what's interesting is my parents were not involved in the military. My dad couldn't be in the military because of a football injury. Okay. So a lot of people ask, were your parents in the military? How did you get into the academy? And it's really through sports that I think that helped me get into the Naval Academy. But actually my parents have 3 children and all 3 of us went to a service academy.
Really?
Yes.
So talk about sports and then talk about your parents, because I want to mention particularly your mom, because your mom is a character in her own right.
She is. She is. My mom is 71. She still walks 7 or 8 miles a day. She does P90X. She wears me out.
I bet.
And my dad exercises too. He's about 80. So yeah, they're both
amazing.
full of energy. But when we were growing up, they really pushed sports. They said we could either get a job or we could do sports. We had to decide. Okay. And I was kind of tall and lanky and not very athletic, I guess, initially, and so they had us jump rope. I used to have to jump rope in the morning for 10 minutes before I could get my breakfast.
And does that help with coordination?
It helped with coordination, and we used to have to, if we were going to watch TV, we had to work out while we were watching TV. Like we had to do push-ups during the commercial break or something like that.
Okay, well, if you're watching GAB with ALisa, we want to do a special tribute to Emily. So drop and give us 20 right now. You know what? That is almost a synopsis of one of the reasons I wanted to have you on this program, because you have such an interesting upbringing and you do so many wonderful things in the community. You really, really reach out and strive. And I think it's amazing that your parents were already ahead of their time, if you will, and knew that to get you from point A to point B, you had to have some really strong skills, and physical health was a big one with them.
Right. Well, they weren't always ahead of their time. They told me that I could always find somebody to type for me. I could always find somebody to type my papers or whatever. Now what? Everyone's typing their own stuff.
Entrepreneurial, very entrepreneurial.
Right.
That's great.
But they had us eating healthy and exercising all our lives. So I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. And the thing that I I like the most about you is you're very quiet about everything you do, but you can tell you have a lot of principles, you have a code that you live by, and you're very inspiring to young girls. And this is the main reason why I wanted to have you on the program, because you are all about health. You take care of yourself, and you're also about community activism, which we're going to talk about a little bit later in the program. But continuing along the health track, you met someone on Facebook, and you've had some amazing hiking adventures.
Right,
Let's talk about that.
Well, I was just looking through Facebook one day and I noticed that a friend of mine had liked the page One Fit Widow. And I started following that page, and I liked a lot of the things that Michelle was posting on her One Fit Widow page. And she's really into exercising, eating right, fun family fitness, and encourages that. And she's just kind of started this program about a year and a half ago, and I joined. You don't have to join to see all of her Facebook posts, but if you want to be in a special group, you need to join, and they send you workouts every week that you can do. But one of the things that she does is, her husband was very adventurous, and he liked to plan special trips, and so she is having fitness adventures all across the country. And the first one was in Sedona, Arizona, last November, and I went out and I met her, and I've met people all across the country and across the world actually that are interested in fitness. So we just encourage each other. So it's a great group to be a member of.
And you know, to me, it almost seems like those two pieces are dramatically different, where you are brave enough and adventurous enough that you meet somebody on Facebook, so you travel all across the United States to meet her, and then you guys are in an encouraging group of people, because to me that just shows a big span of internal abilities, that you meet somebody, say, I like this. And I think you can gather from the title of One Fit Widow that her husband passed away, and she was using fitness and exercise as a way to process her grief.
Right, as a way to process her grief, and as a way to get over it, and as a way to help others going through the same thing. But not everybody that follows her is a widow, but she's still just really motivational for everybody to follow, that we follow.
Motivational. I think that is the word that we're going to talk about in just a moment, because you're very motivational in kind of a quiet way. So we're going to talk about that in a moment, because some really great things are going on in the community that you are a part of, or you are spearheading. So we're going to talk about that some more as we profile Emily Harman on GAB with Lisa Profiles. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. You're watching MetroCast, Channel 10.
It's a growing problem in our community, and you probably know somebody who's been affected. It's the scourge of pills and heroin. Between 2012 and 2013, heroin investigations by the Sheriff's Department has increased by 58%. And pills, such as Percocet, Oxycodone, Oxycontin, Vicodin, and Hydrocodone are often abused, winding up in the hands of our youth. Now's the time to address the problem. Parents, talk openly to your kids about the dangers of abusing and misusing heroin and pills. Though they may think otherwise, we know that they are not invincible. Parents, you are the anti-drug.
You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10. Thanks for joining us again. With me today is Emily Harman, a member of our community who has done so many things, from meeting somebody on Facebook and going all the way out to Sedona, Arizona to go hiking, and then making a whole new group of friends. You had a naval career, you've worked for the Navy your entire life, you're mentoring, you've got organizations. Okay, let me just stop for a second. We'll let you talk about it. You joined the Navy, and you were one of the women in the 6th class from the Naval Academy to graduate,
right.
And then you were in the Navy for 20 years, active duty and reserve. What was it like to be a woman in the military?
Back then, it was a lot different than it is now. Back then, I remember being at the Naval Academy and having tourists walk by and say, "Oh, there's one, there's one." They were looking for the females to kind of point us out. And
wow.
We weren't very welcomed there.
Okay.
there's another member of our community that was in the first class, Barbara Ives. Might be
Okay.
somebody you want to talk to in the future
Yeah.
on the show, but she was in the first class of women. She's got some very interesting stories. Got a little better when my class got there. My sister graduated in 1988, so she graduated 3 years after me. But things have changed a lot in terms of what women can do for a career in the military. They're allowing women on submarines now, women are on aircraft carriers. Back when I was in the Navy, women could only go on submarine tenders or destroyer tenders, ships that helped submarines and destroyers. But so the career opportunities are really wide now. So it's a great time if you are a young woman thinking about a military career. I think it's a great opportunity.
If there is a young woman and she's considering a career in the Navy, because that's your background, what would you say to her, what would you encourage her, and what would you caution her with?
I would encourage her to just talk to as many people as she can that are currently in the military, find out about the opportunities, because there's a wide range of careers in the Navy. I was in the business end of it at the Supply Corps, but you don't have to be a pilot or a ship driver. You could be a photographer for the Navy. So there's lots of different opportunities. So learn all about it, and I can't think of any cautions. I guess the only caution would be, don't leave the military too soon. Make it a career, because the retirement benefits are good and you get to travel all over the world, and it's just, you meet so many different people. It's a great opportunity.
And I think the other thing is, when you mentioned talk to as many people as possible, because there's such a wide range of experiences and perceptions and what have you, and if you get a balanced picture with a lot of people, and I know that you're very approachable, so even if a young woman's considering joining the military and wants to
Sure.
reach out and talk to you, because you're very approachable, and you do mentor, not necessarily with military stuff, but you mentor, don't you?
I mentor probably officially like 12 or 13 people on base at work. And we meet, I have regular meetings with them. We meet about once every 3 months, but they are always welcome to come in at any time. And then through the school system, I started mentoring a woman. She's a senior now at Great Mills High School. So I mentor her and spend a lot of time, fun times doing things with her and her sisters on the weekends.
Well, let's talk about that. What does a mentor do?
Just there, somebody else to talk to. It's a little different mentoring somebody at work versus mentoring a student. But for the student, I'm just there, someone to talk to. We bake cookies. We go to the pool. Sometimes she just likes to come over and watch videos on Netflix at my apartment. So
and just get a visualization of what being a strong, intelligent, articulate woman, with a great career and a great eye toward the community is all about.
I talk to her about that. I help her with her math. I don't, but I have somebody else that tutors her on her math.
You help her to get the help.
Yeah, I help her to get the help, and just talk to her about friends and things that maybe she doesn't want to talk to her mom about, and just be someone else to be there for her. What
made you choose to get into mentoring? Because you have a very full job.
Right. I just like helping other people, and I'm a graduate of Leadership Southern Maryland, and somebody from my class had his wife worked in the school system, and they were looking for mentors, so I started mentoring the girl I mentor through the school system, and then now it's come more of a friendship, and we do it offline, not through the school system. But I just like helping other people.
And I think that is one of the big things that has really drawn me to you through Facebook, is all of the different things that you're involved in. Okay, you mentioned being a graduate of Leadership Southern Maryland. You also head up Read to Lead. You're also with an organization that's helping parents who have children that have addiction problems. You do the mentoring. There are so many things that you do. So let's go down the line. Let's talk about Read to Lead, because again, a community service.
Right. Read to Lead started, I started with a friend of mine, Kim Mazinga. We've been on Bob Shaller's show talking about that. And we're getting ready to celebrate our 2-year anniversary in October. And we usually have about 15 to 20, sometimes a few more people come to our meetings. We read a different book a month. Lately, we've been talking a lot about creating an entrepreneurial ecosystem and diversifying the economy here in Southern Maryland, so it's not so reliant just on the Navy base. So we pick lots of different books and read and discuss them, and we're not a book club that says, okay, on page 10, what did you think about this sentence? We just kind of use the book to get the conversation started, and then the conversation kind of goes all over the place with ideas on how to improve the community.
You are really good with that, where you like opening up conversations that bring in many different ideas from many different perspectives, from many different people, and you really have an affinity and a gift for being able to lead from that perspective. That is, I think, special from a leader, because I know that one thing that a lot of leaders struggle with is, my way is the best way, but you really seem to be able to integrate a lot of different ideas and have a lot of different conversations, and Read to Lead is one of those that really just opens up conversation. Here, I'll figure out how to spearhead this and get this going along with Kim, and then we'll bring in a lot of ideas from other people in the community, because that's the excitement of how things grow and change.
Just get other people talking, and I think that's one of the things I like about mentoring is someone comes to me with a question and I can point them, I can direct them because of my experience, and I'm older, I haven't got a lot of experience, I can direct them in the right way. So I like kind of hooking people up and helping them figure out where to go next and what to do. For example, I'm the president of the National Contract Management Association Chesapeake Bay chapter. Okay. And we've really been trying to improve that chapter and talk about, involve more of the community in contracts. We have a STEM academy, but we don't, we have a finance academy in the schools, but we want to start doing more projects. Like, for example, perhaps we thought about this morning, someone on my team did, maybe when they have a STEM event at the high schools, have a finance academy and a contracting event at the same time, because in order to get access to all these engineering products and skills, somebody needs to contract for it. So we are in our meeting this morning, we have so many new volunteers and we have so many people that want to help. I'm just excited about our chapter and for where it's going to go. And you're right, I like to get them all started and then just sit back and watch it happen.
Every time I do one of these shows, in the back of my mind, I'm trying to think of one word that would sum up the person that I'm profiling and the topic. And with you, it's taken me a minute, because there's so many things, you're so interesting in so many different areas, and I think the word to describe you and to sum up this show is collaborative.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
good.
A good one.
I hit the nail on the head. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about collaboration, something that you have started within our community to deal with an issue that has become very pervasive and heartbreaking in our own community. We're going to talk about what you're doing about it, because you kind of have a personal story to add to that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back in just a moment as we continue to profile Emily Harman on GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast, Channel 10.
Being your best is all about how you feel inside and out. If you feel good, you look good. Hi, I'm Dawn Campbell. Join me on MetroCast Channel 10 for Be Your Best. I'll show you creative ways to dress for success, give you quick health and fitness tips, and daily ideas for living the life you were meant to live. Be Your Best airs weekdays exclusively on MetroCast Channel 10 and is brought to you by Fitz Auto Mall.
You're watching GAB with ALisa Profiles on MetroCast Channel 10 as we continue to profile Emily Harman, a career in the military, worked for the Navy your entire life, but more interesting than all of that is the number of things that you've done for our community. Over the course of the last several years, and I know that it's been building for years, our community has been experiencing a significant problem with drug abuse, and particularly with young people. We're starting to see some real ramifications that are just painful and heartbreaking in our high schools. And you have worked with a group of people in our community to set up a support organization. So let's talk about that, because the impetus for the idea with you is you have had a child who has struggled with addiction.
Right.
Okay, so talk about that.
Well, we started, a friend of mine, and I met her because she knocked on my door because our kids were getting involved in some things that maybe they shouldn't be. And that's how I met her, and we became friends, and we decided to start a group called Parents of Teens Unite. We thought if our teens are teaming up and know what's going on and communicating, so are the parents going to be even more involved. And it's kind of harder to keep in touch with what your kids are doing because they've got cell phones and they're really well connected, and they use terms that are relating to drugs that maybe we don't really recognize and understand, so we don't always speak their language. So we decided to start this group, and we got ourselves through a lot of challenging problems, and then when the county had the drug forum on March the 7th, and then in St. Mary's County, and I went to another drug forum in Calvert County, I found out about a group called Parents Affected by Addiction. So our group joined with that group.
Okay.
And we have several people that lead that group. I'm kind of more of a spokesperson. We have all fallen into our individual roles, but we meet once a month, and we help parents going through issues with their children with addiction. So many parents are struggling. They don't know where to turn. Al-Anon's, there are Al-Anon meetings, there are other kinds of meetings, but they find that, coming to our meeting and talking to parents who have been through it, that can help them through it, is very helpful for them.
I know that when we had initially began the discussion to talk about this part of your life, one of the things that you mentioned is that parents that have children or students that struggle with addictions deal with a lot of shame.
Right.
And they feel very isolated and alone. And your organization is hoping to bring all of that out of the darkness, because drug addiction with students is not a socioeconomic problem. It is not an ethnic problem. It is a child problem.
Correct. It's addiction is a disease, and I get very emotional about it because I just don't want. I've met so many parents in the Southern Maryland communities that have lost their children to addiction, and these children, a lot of times, are straight A students. They're athletes, people that you wouldn't think would become addicted to drugs. But what tends to happen is they might have an injury and then they're prescribed prescription drugs, or they might get their wisdom teeth out and they're prescribed prescription drugs, and they get addicted. And it's so hard once you are addicted to overcome it. And I remember when I was going through this, I thought, well, let's get my child into a recovery thing and then he'll be fixed. And it doesn't happen that quickly or that easily. And at some point as a parent, you start to realize that you cannot fix the challenge that your child has with addiction. You can't fix it. It has to come from the individual that is addicted. And it is so hard to stand by, because especially for mothers, I think we just want to, take care of our children, and sometimes moms can be more of an enabler in this situation than they should be, and that's what we help parents struggle through when we have our Parents of Addictions Affected by Addictions meetings.
And I think the title of your organization really speaks to what you do, Parents Affected by Addiction. It's not an Al-Anon, it's not a 10-step program, it's getting parents together to talk about, first of all, share information that they know,
right,
and then share coping skills. I think it's really heartbreaking when you talk about how parents want to fix things, and this is not a fixable. This is a lifelong process, step by step, to avoid, overcome, get through, work out
right,
all of the ramifications
right,
of this horrible scourge that's in our country right now.
And a lot of parents, you just don't want to believe that your child is abusing drugs, or you don't think it could happen to you because you're a good parent. It can happen to anybody, no matter how involved you are. When people get addicted, they have ways of hiding it. They're they can be deceptive. They can trick you. You want to believe that your child is telling you the truth, and then you find out that they're not, and it's just heartbreaking. And
I commend you for being willing to talk about it. I love your passion. I learn so much about people when I touch upon something that is near and dear to their heart, and you can tell that you're very passionate and very compassionate about this topic. And I think it is important for parents to come out of the dark and say, I'm not a bad parent, I didn't fail as a parent, it's not your fault. I didn't work too many hours and ignore something. And really have other parents that you can talk to and you can share these burdens.
Right, and we want to share too, the signs to look for. How do you know that your child is using drugs? Where should you look? What can you find when how are they hiding the drugs, and how are they getting the drugs? We can help with that.
Wonderful. Well, if this has touched a nerve with you, please continue to watch MetroCast Channel 10, because we'll be posting announcements about all of the meetings. Is there a regular schedule for parents affected by addiction?
We meet the third Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock. I think it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, the third Wednesday of every month.
Okay.
And the location differs, so you can check our Facebook page.
Okay,
meetings.
And I know that Facebook can cause trouble, but there are so many wonderful things about it, and I love the immediacy of social media, so we can connect and really reach out and help each other.
We also have a secret group a secret Facebook group where parents can actually really share. Our page is open, but on the secret group you can post and nobody else sees it except for members in that group.
Okay, good. All right, well, if this is something that is near and dear to your heart or a topic that maybe your family is struggling with, good news. There are wonderful people in our community who have experienced this kind of pain, and they're willing to say, hey, come alongside me. Collaborative.
Yes.
So Emily, hats off to you. I can tell that you've gone through some tough stuff in life, but you definitely have come through for the benefit of our community, and we really appreciate you kind of opening the doors to your life.
Thank you.
All right. Emily Harman, a wonderful person in our community doing great things. That's going to do it for this episode of GAB with ALisa Profiles. We'll see you next time. You're watching MetroCast Channel 10.